Ladies and gentlemen, the race will not resume. The decision has been made. Max Verstappen wins the Belgian Grand Prix in 2021. They tried, but it just wasn't possible to get the race going again. And Verstappen returns from the summer break then and starts to make a dent into that gap at the top of the championship.
What the frack was that? This is In the Paddock F1, Greeny and the Cheese. That was David Croft's call on Sky Sports, courtesy of Formula1.com. We are in Belgium, known for its chocolates, waffles, my personal favorite, the Belgian wit beers, my friends. We are also in the Ardennes Forest. And not far from where we were supposed to have a race today was a piece of land that was a major part of the Battle of the Bulge for you history buffs. But we are at Spa-Francorchamps, the longest track in the F1 calendar, has the largest elevation change of any track on the F1 calendar of 102.2 meters, or for those of you in the States, that would be 335.3 feet. But there was supposed to be a race, but Mother Nature said no. It's monsoon season in the Ardennes. We get a 2-lap joke, and I don't even know what else to say. Greeny, good evening, sir.
Good evening. I took a day off yesterday, and I come back to this. Apologies for anyone who was trying to check out our normal Saturday night special qualifying show. We did not have it because I was in the woods of northwest New Jersey, so I was away. I apologize, and I come back to no race, or tried to get a race in, but in the end, the results were interesting. An interesting one. Half points today, always interesting. An interesting quali, of course. A crazy qualifying. And a crazy weekend overall. Lots of rain. We went swimming in Spa, that's for sure. A whole lot of rain, a whole lot of bad weather. It just made for a crazy, crazy weekend. And overall, in the end, Max Verstappen does win a race. Williams on the podium, and Lewis Hamilton
Georgie boy
rounds out. So, I mean, it's not all that bad on paper in the end. George Russell didn't seem to mind it at all. He seemed pretty pumped with his podium and his second. So he really wanted to make sure that was a qualified race. But yeah, crazy day, crazy weekend. And Cheese, what are your thoughts?
How it's a bloody gosh darn joke. It's a bloody gosh darn joke is what it is. I mean, this is the pinnacle of motorsports, Formula One. And you have no plan for if it rains this bad. Like, you could have started it an hour and a half, 2 hours beforehand. I mean, other racing series do this. They start early when there's expected to be crazy weather to get the race in. I mean, you could have went an hour or so before the event and there wasn't ratings as bad. You could have got the race off and at least got an hour or so racing in instead of 2 laps behind the safety car. The driver of the day was Burt Mylander. I mean, come on. I mean, come on now. I mean, it was an absolute joke. And then just to totally be pathetic. It's in the regulations that you get 2 laps and you can give half points for 2 laps. That's a joke. Of course, Max Verstappen would take that and run. George Russell, I'll take that podium and run. It's in the books. But that's a gosh darn joke. That's a joke. A lot of the drivers said it's a joke to be handing out points. Now we have half points. What is that? I think is it like Max? I think both Max and Lewis have and then Mercedes and Red Bull have 0.5 now in the points. We never have half points in Formula One. It's madness.
We do now. Who got the fastest lap?
And just how race control had no clue on anything what was going on basically all day.
No.
I mean, you have Sergio Perez crash on the outlap, but because technically the race hasn't started, he gets to come back in after they fix the car because there's a 9-hour delay. I mean, you had to have the car come back on a trolley. Regulation right there. Got to be changed. You crash your ass on the road on the way to the grid, you're out. You're out. Or if when Red Bull called and said, yeah, he's not going to take part in the race, but then after there's a delay, you come back, oh, wait a minute. I don't see anything in the regulations to do this. We're going to try and get him back in. That's absolutely crazy and ridiculous. To have no plan, no contingency plan for something like this to happen. Could you postpone it to the next day? I mean, you're not going far next week. What's it, a 5-hour ride to Zanzibar?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Logistically,
I mean,
logistically,
load the trucks up and move them. Come on, you could easily do this. These dudes aren't having to put some. Usually, Formula One teams are putting their crap on a boat, sending it across the ocean, way in advance. Because it's a lot cheaper to do that than to ship it on an airplane. So that's how it's usually done. So to load on the truck and drive 6 hours?
No.
Come on.
No.
Come on.
No. So first of all, you don't know the logistics behind the scene of what's going on. So
they do put things on ships.
It's hard.
They do put things
I understand they put things on ships, but it is hard for any of us to sit here and say with any kind of certainty that you know how long it takes to dismantle and deliver and how much time and what their itinerary looked like from the minute that race was over to the minute that next race starts in Zanzibar next week. That's a tight schedule. I guarantee you look at that itinerary for that crew, and that's a tight schedule. But that's what happens when you also triple stack races, triple stack weekends. And I know it's tough, but you triple stack a weekend. This is why you have a little bit of space in between. And this is something that hasn't happened before, rain this bad. But I think it was mismanaged. I think there was a lot of blame to go around. I think they could have got it in. I think, going back to qualifying Q3, what the heck happened in Q3? It was there was standing water all over the track, and then all of a sudden they send him out there, and then all of a sudden 10 minutes later it's sunny and everything's fine. Why didn't you wait 10 minutes? Why didn't you wait? We have the technology. We have everything we need to be able to predict this whatever weather, and you botched it and completely and utterly botched the weather. Where's Al Roker when you need him?
Well, sure, they needed Al Roker pretty bad today, folks. Absolutely. Absolutely mismanaged. Pathetic. I mean, you can't tell me you can't run this early? Hour too early? Instead of starting it at 3, you start at 2, 1:30, 1 o'clock? I mean, you got to have some contingency plans for this. Other series do it.
Yeah, no,
they don't need, and these series don't race in the rain either. They can't race in the rain, so they got to move things around. But if you're gonna, you would rain all weekend long. Track conditions were some of the harshest I've ever seen. I mean, you had Seb saying he shouldn't even gone out for Q3 to start with. And then Lando crashes and he gets on there and he's cursing it up saying, what I tell you? This is exactly what was going to happen. I mean, Lando said he was aquaplaning before he even went out for that hot lap that he crashed on. I mean, when you have drivers saying you're hydroplaning, red flag instantly.
Yeah.
There's not even a question. There's not even a question. Especially with a complex like Eau Rouge, which is one of the fastest complexes in all of racing. You had 6 women in the W Series crash in Eau Rouge because of the weather conditions.
Mm-hmm.
2 went to the hospital.
You gotta tiptoe through that.
Antoine Herbert died 2 years ago here.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be a contingency plan when you have weather like this. You have to. And there's none. There's no plan. None. It's pathetic. It's a joke. It's a gosh darn joke.
You know what I feel for the most are all those fans that sat out there all weekend long in the rain. They were having a good time. But they didn't get to see a car go around the track too much. And then even when conditions were better, and all the Formula One employees that were there all weekend getting soaked, from the people on pit row all the way down to everyone else working in that organization to make that work. So it's an incredible feat. And I do disagree when you say that they can just, delay a day. I believe their itinerary is probably set, that they're moving tonight. They're probably moving already. So, and getting things on trucks and getting things loaded. So it's tight. And then they got to do it again next week. So it's tight. And
then the week after that.
It's tight. So all the credit to those guys.
Sometimes you got to chalk it up and pay a little overtime, boys and girls.
Listen. I'm sure they're doing the best they can. For you to sit there behind the microphone and poo-poo them without just sitting your ass down there, and while they do all the work, it's tough. It's a tough month for them. It's going to be a tough month for them. So cut them a little slack. And they can't race tomorrow. They tried. They talked about it. I know the fans aren't happy about it, but for all the fans that aren't happy about it, you have no idea what it takes logistically to get from point A to point B with all this stuff. And they do a fantastic job. And it's not their fault. It's their boss's fault for mismanaging everything that happened over this weekend. They mismanaged qualifying, and they mismanaged the weather conditions at the race, and it's borderline unacceptable. I don't know if there's a different result that could have happened. I don't know if they could have raced 15 laps if they started earlier. I don't know. It was pretty consistent rain all day in dangerous conditions, and it's just a tough day. But those fans really came out there. They seemed to be smiling. Maybe the ones that were, pissed off and went home, they might not have been showing on camera as much as the ones that were partying and doing the Macarena all the way to the end. So getting wet, getting soaked. Gotta love it, man. And that's not like in a city. For those of you who are unaware, you got to travel to get to Spa. You gotta get in the car, and you gotta mark it on the calendar because you are traveling to get to Spa, most likely. Not many folks are coming locally there. So it's a day for them. If this was in the city or somewhere close by, they might have left and went home, possibly not. But they were there the whole time getting wet, and kudos to them. Kudos to Formula One for the staff, at least, and slap your own damn self in the face for everyone else at the top, because you guys mismanaged what could have been a salvageable weekend.
It's a joke. Are they going to give points? You give points. You can't do that. That's a joke. There wasn't even a competitive lap. I have nothing else to say. Disgusting.
Well, with that, please don't forget to join us next week, because we'll be here in 6 days, right? We're 6 days away.
Yes, sir.
6 days away.
Zandvoort.
Down the road. Still looking for another.
Be a sea of orange.
Sea of orange. That'll be for sure. It's been a lot of sea of oranges this year. I think we're going to see a real sea of orange. Max Verstappen, half a point. and a half a point week. Was it 12 and a half, right? So what's the total right now? How many points is it should be close. It should be very close. Hamilton's probably up by like a couple points. He's checking.
The current standings are
Not that they matter that much. We didn't move that much.
Lewis at 202.5. Max is at 199.5.
3 points. 3 points. So step back 3 to tie. We'll see what happens next week in Zanzibar. We'll have a Saturday night special, my friends, here, a Labor Day weekend here in the States, as I will be toiling and cooking away and getting ready for a wonderful, wonderful Labor Day weekend next weekend here in the States and for around the world. We're going to be in Zanzibar, and we're going to see a lot of orange. So get ready, get set, and hopefully we'll have an actual race next week.
I mean, we were on the ocean, if I'm not mistaken, at Zanzibar, so it just rained a lot in Holland. Hopefully it's sunny. Because if we got to put up another weekend like this, I might vomit. But we'll see you in 6 days' time.
See you in 6 days' time. Formula One, come up with a plan B. You need a plan B for this stuff. All right. We out. Peace.
Peace.
What's up, everyone? Greeny from In the Paddock here. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Please let me explain. It's free. Okay, free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you for free, so it can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many, many more. You can make money as well. Money with your podcast. No minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started.